Welcome to the Better Together Here podcast with your hosts Devin
and Ashley,
helping you make the most of your time in New York City.
Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Better Together Here podcast. My name is Devin.
And my name is Ashley.
And in today's episode, we are diving into all things Christmas in New York. We're going to give you tips you need to know. We're going to talk about the places you should and should not go. We are going to talk about some unique shopping experiences and markets, and we're going to give you everything you need to know about how to have an amazing experience in Christmas, even though, spoiler, it will be busy. So let's get right into it.
So we're going to start off today's episode by giving you some general tips on things that you should know before coming around the holidays, specifically December in New York City. So first of all, things to pack. New York City is really cold during the winter time. Sometimes there's not a lot of snow. It's kind of unpredictable, but it's usually cold. Specifically, like New York it's pretty windy because there's really tall buildings. So sometimes you'll be walking around and be like, oh, it's not that cold. And then you'll turn around the corner and get blasted with freezing cold wind. So make sure you're prepared for cold weather. Definitely bring gloves, a beanie. You want to make sure you have something that can cover your head, like a thick sweatshirt, or maybe opt for a jacket that has a hood on it so you can keep your ears warm. Sometimes it does rain in December rather than snow. So be prepared to bring an umbrella or plan to buy one if you don't want to carry one. But I would just check the weather before you come. You're definitely going to want to prioritize good walking shoes when you come to the city, because a lot of the things you're going to be doing, you're going to be walking around for several hours. Most of the time, if you don't already live in a big city and you're not used to walking multiple miles per day, it's going to be a little bit surprising to you how much walking that you're actually doing. So make sure that you're prioritizing bringing good walking shoes.
Function over fashion.
Always.
Specifically with shoes in New York.
And like I mentioned, I would try to check the weather, because if it is going to rain or snow while you're here, you might want to consider bringing some type of boot in addition to like a comfortable walking or running shoe.
And make sure you leave a little bit of extra room in your suitcase, because there will probably be some souvenirs, holiday shopping you want to do while you're here. And we'll cover some good spots to do that. Another thing to think about is that if you are so excited for spending a Christmas in New York because of all the glitz and the glam and the colors and the lights and the tree, you're not the only person. And so Christmas time in New York City is very, very busy. And because of that, it's going to be more expensive for everything, specifically hotels and probably flights getting to and from New York. So just plan on it being a little bit more expensive. And beyond that, plan on it being more crowded. I would say after Thanksgiving until about January 2nd or 3rd is arguably the most busy time in New York City. Again, people want to be here for the holidays. People are on vacations, whether that be, not being in school or having work off. People, not just in the United States, but all across the world, often have winter holiday and want to come to New York City. So know that it's going to be very busy. So if there is a spot that is very important to you, get a reservation beforehand. Because it's going to be busy, make sure you get a reservation beforehand, well in advance if you can. I know that we are publishing this closer to when many people are probably coming out for their travels, but still, even a day or two can save you from getting into a situation where you want to go to this restaurant really bad and you can't get in versus being able to get in. So get reservations, whether that's for restaurants, whether that's for shows, whether that's for attractions like going to the Top of the Rock. Just get reservations because things fill up quickly. Two pieces here. This is like a personal plea from us as people who live here. Please listen to our sidewalk rules episode before coming. You'll be happy and we'll be happy. And that means everyone will be happy if you do that. And of course, check out our transportation guide. We have an entire 50 plus page PDF guide that breaks down getting to and from the airports, navigating the subway, how to walk on the sidewalks, because yes, there are kind of unwritten rules to that, and all things travel in New York City, hailing a taxi, all that good stuff. If you go to our website, bettertogetherhere.com, you will see a button that says free transportation guide. You sign up for it. You just enter your email and you will get that delivered to your inbox.
Just a quick note on the sidewalk rules. Definitely check out our podcast episode about that. But as a brief summary, don't stop in the middle of the sidewalk. Think of the sidewalk as like a highway. Out in the suburbs, you're going point A to point B in your car. You would not stop in the middle of the road, so don't do that on the sidewalk. A frustrated New Yorker trying to get to work might say something to you. It's not that we're all mean. It's that we got places to be. And
if you were in a car and stopped in the middle of the street, people behind you would honk. it's the same thing. If you are on the sidewalk and stop in the middle of the sidewalk and people run into you or you're blocking the path, people are going to let you know.
One other note is please try not to walk in big groups all next to each other because it does block the sidewalk and it's hard for people to walk around. Just try to be courteous, try to be aware of where you are. If you're going to look at your phone, look for directions, just pull over next to the building next to you and out of the main walkway. That's pretty much like the main summary, but also check out the episode that we have out.
And that leads us to a new segment that we are going to offer most episodes, and that is New York Know-How. We're going to read some of these out of a wonderful book that we have. It's called NYC Basic Tips and Etiquette. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's by Nathan W. Pyle. Has phenomenal illustrations as well. We'll link to it in the show notes. It's definitely worth checking out. It's like $12-13 and is a great coffee table book, but also just has quality information. And what we're going to tell you here is number 5 in this New York City Basic Tips and Etiquette book. And it has a graphic of someone going to stop a man walking on the street, a quote bubble, and it says, "Excuse me, sir, if you could spare a moment to answer a question. I don't normally bother anyone on the street, but I thought I might ask you." And then that is all crossed out. And then the only part that is actually not crossed out is, which way is Bushwick Avenue? So when you are asking for directions or you're needing help on the streets, you don't need to tell the whole story. You don't need to tell them why you're going to the place that you're going and how your dog one time had a sweater that is the same color as theirs. Just say, which way is Bushwick Avenue? And then they will give you a response. New Yorkers are happy to give help with directions, but be succinct because, again, people are going places. They'll help you once they know that you're lost, but they've got places to be as well. So make it quick and succinct. And that is the New York Know-How segment. All right, back to Christmas in New York. Okay, holiday attractions, decor, things to do. Kind of this is what people really are looking forward to when they come to New York. And there's a whole lot here. We're going to kind of fly through it because there is a lot. We could do full episodes about each individual thing, but we're not going to because we want this to be a general overview. But let's start with what a lot of people think about. That is the Rockefeller tree. The tree this year is from Massachusetts, which it's the first time it's been from Massachusetts since 1959. It is open. It'll be lit daily from 5 a.m. to midnight. And then on Christmas Eve, it is lit for 24 hours. New Year's Eve, it'll only be lit from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. So most of the times you're going to go there, it'll be up. The Rockefeller tree, it'll take your breath away. It's
worth the hype.
Yeah.
If you're here at Christmas time, that should be one of your first stops because it really is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's huge. The sheer number of lights that are there are amazing. The location within Rockefeller Center, and you've got all these tall buildings around it and the ice skating rink and all the stores. And it's like pure Christmas in one snapshot. So make sure you check out the Rockefeller tree.
While you're here, we highly recommend checking out one of the many holiday musicals and performances that they have going on during this time of year. One that we just saw last weekend was Elf the Musical.
Hilarious.
It's your classic Elf story from the movie, but with a lot of music, great for kids of all ages, except if you're going to bring an 18-month-old.
Someone brought an 18-month-old that was talking, like talking and babbling and being a loud toddler, which I get it, like toddlers are toddlers, but the self-awareness of these people was very low.
Don't bring a baby to a Broadway musical.
Just don't do it.
Like a 5-year-old, absolutely. But a baby?
No.
The baby's not getting anything out of that.
Everyone is frustrated. That's just a sidebar. That's
we rest our case.
We rest our case.
But highly recommend Elf the Musical. Really fun way to get into the holiday spirit. Great story. Incredible performances. Highly recommend that. They also have the Nutcracker going on. It's a ballet happening at the Lincoln Center. That goes from November 29th all the way through January 4th. So if you haven't been to the Lincoln Center before, it's an absolutely beautiful opera hall. Great place to watch a musical performance. Highly recommend.
One of the most epic chandeliers ever as well. When you walk in to the Lincoln Center, there's this massive spiral staircase that goes up and then this unbelievably large and beautiful chandelier as well that's kind of in that open area. I mean, that in itself is like worth the price of admission or even just going and seeing it. I think you could probably walk in without, can you? Or do you have to go through security before?
You might be able to see the pretty chandelier from outside, but I don't think they would let you in.
It's worth checking out. Lincoln Center is beautiful.
And arguably the most iconic musical performance that you could see while you're in New York City over the holidays is going to see the Rockettes at Radio City. This is my favorite thing to do for Christmas every single year. incredible performance. The Rockettes put on a heck of a show. Really gets you into the Christmas spirit.
Again, great for all ages. And I believe most days they have anywhere from 3 to 5 performances. So odds are you can get some tickets for this. So those are some good performances to check out. There are certainly more that we didn't mention, but those are some of the highlights. Okay, another thing that a lot of people really like to do over the holidays in New York is to go ice skating. We actually went for the first time. We've lived in New York for over 3.5 years now. We've traveled here multiple times. Before we lived here, we had never done ice skating. We went for the first time. My mom and aunt were in town and they really, really wanted to do it. And we went with them and we had a great time. There are many places to go ice skating in New York during the holidays. A few that are popular. There's actually one in Dumbo, right underneath one of the bridges. There is Bryant Park. There's Rockefeller Center. But our recommendation, we did a lot of research and we personally walked by each one of these and saw with our own eyes what the experience was like. And Central Park is by far the best option. The rink itself is much bigger. It was cheaper than the other options. Rockefeller Center, while that is probably like a really iconic thing and you've seen it in Elf and all that cool stuff, it is a tiny rink and it was jam-packed. I mean, people were barely moving. If you just care about like putting the skates on for 20 minutes and barely puttering around and just being there to be there, okay. But like if you care at all about like the ice skating experience and having a little space to go around and like go a little fast if you want, generally speaking, Central Park, that's the one. Get a reservation beforehand. We went during the weekday, during the day, and it was not that busy at all, but very, very fun. Beautiful views, fun experience. If you are coming to New York over the holidays, like we mentioned, it's going to be crowded. Anything that you think might be more crowded than not, especially holiday specific things, and we'll talk a little bit about this, like going to any of the holiday markets or doing something like ice skating, if you can do it during the week, you're likely going to have a better experience. Anything from Friday at 5 p.m. until about Monday at 10 a.m. is just going to be so unbelievably crowded, especially if it is holiday centric. So just be aware of that. And if you can do things during the week, if that's at all possible for your travel schedule, do it.
Next on our list for you to check out while you're here is the Lot. I think I'm saying that right. The Lot New York Palace. This is a absolutely beautiful hotel. There's a massive, gorgeous Christmas tree outside with really beautiful lights all around it. And fun fact, this is also where Serena lives in Gossip Girl. Serena's Blake Lively's character. So if you want to see where she lives and the building that's featured all over that show, if you're a fan, check it out.
There's actually a secret way to get in, and you have to go up and whisper XOXO Gossip Girl. That's how you get in to the New York Palace, right?
Because you've seen the show.
Because XOXO Gossip Girl, you have to whisper that in the ear of the guy at the front counter.
Yeah, and then they just let you right in.
They let you right in. That's how it works. Beautiful place. It's actually right next to St. Patrick's Cathedral, which is we're checking out. There's a little bit of holiday decor. The St. Patrick's Cathedral itself is just a beautiful building on the inside. The outside does have like a big nice wreath and a little bit of holiday decor, so that's worth looking at.
It's free to get in as well.
It's free to get in, and you might get lucky like us and see a wedding happening randomly when you walked in.
Yeah, we saw a wedding in the middle of the day on like, what was that, a Friday?
In St. Patrick's Cathedral. It was wild.
We thought the bride was going to run away. She took like 15 minutes to come out.
She took way too long. Either way, you never know what you're going to stumble upon in New York. Okay, another just couple places to see like good holiday decor and kind of have that festive experience. All up 6th Avenue, which is also called Avenue of the Americas. You can see just a bunch of different installments of holiday decor. There is a thing with giant candy canes that you can get some good pictures next to. There's another one with giant Christmas ornaments. There's one with giant nutcrackers that are like 10 feet tall. There's Radio City Music Hall. There's the Fox Christmas tree. So like all up 6th Avenue, like really if you, for example, if you went to Central Park and just came out on 6th Avenue and walked from the park on 6th Avenue down to like, I don't know, even 42nd Street or something like that, you're just going to see so much holiday decor and installments, and it's just a very festive part of the city, and it's also right near Rockefeller Center as well. So a lot of this is in that general pocket of Midtown that you can kind of knock it out in one fell swoop.
Another good place to walk if you're wanting to see some fun Christmas decor is there's a lot of really beautifully decorated windows on 5th Avenue. 5th Avenue is pretty much like where most of like the fancy, super expensive stores are, but they really put a ton of time, effort, and money into their window displays every year. So these are
millions
stores,
of dollars.
yeah.
To clarify, we have a friend who works for Tiffany corporate, and he gave us like a kind of behind the scenes tour of some of those window displays at the Tiffany store on Fifth Avenue. Absolutely mind blowing. The sheer amount of money that is inside of those from a jewelry perspective. I mean, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars worth of jewelry, but also just the displays themselves are very intricate, take a lot of work and thought, and they are absolutely beautiful.
Other stores of note, there's the Louis Vuitton store, which has really beautiful window displays, and Bergdorf Goodman. Lots of really cool window displays if you want to just walk down Fifth Avenue from about Central Park where the Plaza Hotel is, straight down Fifth. A lot of good holiday decor.
Which, speaking of the Plaza Hotel, that is another place worth checking out. A lot of good Christmas decor. The challenge here we have found is that some of these places that we've mentioned, including the Lot New York Palace and Plaza Hotel, because it's so busy, they do cap people coming in. Sometimes they only let in a certain amount of people. Sometimes they're not letting anyone in unless they are actually staying there. So just know that sometimes you might not get in to be able to actually see what you want to see, but even from the outside or, going into the gift shop, you can see some things.
However, if going into the Plaza Hotel is on your bucket list, you could make a reservation in their restaurant or the bar if you wanted to see inside the Plaza Hotel and have the Kevin McAllister experience. However, we've mentioned this before, I think the Plaza's kind of overrated, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend paying to go and eat in their restaurant and drink in their bar. I think it's really expensive, but if that's an experience you want to have and you want to dish out some cash for that, by all means.
That's one of the few places, we've told this story before, but that's one of the few places in New York City where we were seated at a table, looked at the menu, and stood up and left because the cheapest cocktail was like $25 or something for a simple gin and tonic. So just be aware of that.
I think not to correct you, but I think it might have been like almost $30 for a gin and tonic. And I was like, what?
It's absurd.
Not even for like that nice of ingredients either. Just because it was at the Plaza.
Again, though, if like the Plaza Hotel being inside on Christmas experience is important to you, you can get in by going to the bar or restaurant and having a reservation. So that's a quick overview of a lot of the holiday installments and decor and things worth checking out. Another thing that is on most people's list when they think of coming to New York over the holidays is the holiday markets and the shopping. We've talked about different places to shop generally in New York City outside of holiday type things, but like quick highlights, Fifth Avenue, Soho, Columbus Circle. I mean, there are so many different options, but we're going to focus specifically on the holiday markets. So know this first. There are multiple holiday markets throughout New York City. I think there are honestly probably 20 or more if you're looking at all the boroughs. They're mostly the same. There is some variance, but for example, the Bryant Park Winter Center shops, the Columbus Circle Holiday Market, the Union Square Holiday Market, they're all pretty much the same vendors, so you don't really need to go to more than one, but you can just be aware they're pretty much the same.
And with that being said, because they're all pretty similar, I would avoid Bryant Park at all costs. We went there.
Especially on a weekend. Weekdays might be a different story, but
every time I've been to Bryant Park for this Christmas market, it's unbearably crowded.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like a sardine swimming upstream.
It almost became comical. We made a mistake. We went there Saturday around 1:00. I mean, that we should have never even thought of doing that. But it almost became comical with how crowded it was. And every person was having the same experience where you were looking at like a group of 3 or 4 people. One person seemed like excited, trying to go to shops. And then everyone else had this look on their face of like, am I really here right now? Like, is this real life? We can't emphasize enough how crowded it was and how not enjoyable it was. And I heard at least 2 or 3 comments between, overhearing people's conversations of, we've got to get out of here, or I literally cannot fathom how crowded this is, or we made a mistake, we need to leave. Like, so many different people having that exact same conversation. It was almost comical if it wasn't so crowded.
Alternatively, we also went to the Union Square Holiday Market, and that was a Saturday night. You would think that would be busy. And I mean, it was busy. There's a lot of people, but Union Square is much bigger than Bryant Park.
Yeah. And
everything is much more spread out. So that was a much more enjoyable shopping experience, even during peak tourist hours.
Yeah, 100%. So if you want a good holiday market, I would recommend Union Square. Grand Central Station also has a holiday fair that ends on December 24th. Grand Central itself is worth going to if you're coming to New York for the first time or haven't seen Grand Central. It's a beautiful building. There's a lot going on in there, but yeah, they do have this kind of holiday pop-up that's going on also. We can't talk about holiday markets and shopping in general without mentioning some of the staples in Rockefeller Center. Again, know this, during the holidays, there is probably a line for most of these stores that we're going to mention. So either go really early or go on a weekday or just plan on standing in line. But some of the good options within Rockefeller Center, there's FAO Schwartz, which is kind of an iconic toy store. There is the Lego store, which even if you don't go into the Lego store, checking out some of the displays of Legos on the outside, absolutely phenomenal. There's also the Nintendo store, which has a display of every single Nintendo device that has existed from the beginning of Nintendo to today. Very, very cool. There's also stores like Anthropologie and plenty of other just general shopping.
This Anthropologie is huge and has
Big.
2 floors.
Very big.
And who doesn't want a candle for Christmas from Anthropologie?
Very.
I don't know anyone that doesn't want a candle.
If you've never had a volcano candle from Anthropologie, you're welcome. Go get one. And that leads us nicely into this episode's You'll Have to Check It Out segment.
The next stop is
AU H2O Thrift and Vintage Store. So the name, confusing. Lisa was for me at first. Ashley's smarter than me, knows chemistry. She clarified. AU is the symbol or sign. What is it called?
It's like the chemical name,
For
chemical symbol for gold.
gold. And H2O, of course, is water. So gold, water.
Still a weird name in my opinion.
Still a weird name.
But I think AU, they're going for gold and water.
This is down in the Lower East Side near Tompkins Square Park. It's on 7th Street. We've actually walked by this place a dozen times. I've never been in. When we went to Giano, one of our favorite Italian restaurants that we've talked about, we went with my mom who was in town, and she has like this sixth sense for finding thrift stores, and she saw it and was like, oh, we need to stop here. Probably the best thrift store I've ever been to personally in New York City. They had a $5 rack. They have a permanent $5 and $10 rack, but then they have great options inside. There was everything from blouses and coats and pants and shoes and hats, but then also some quirky little gifts and jewelry, and we got a little art piece, and the prices were unbelievably fair. Most times, especially nowadays, like vintage has become almost like it feels corporatized and just commercialized, where it's like you go in and they want $65 for an old Chiefs t-shirt. It's like, come on, that's not the point of vintage. I don't know. It's like frustrating a little bit, but this store was so well priced. We were blown away.
They also had a woman in there who had her own like section of like items that she was selling, and she was like offering deals and was like, make me an offer. So it seems like they do have some flexibility on prices of some items. Everyone in there was super nice. Like Devin mentioned, really good selection of things, great prices. Definitely check this place out if you're into thrifting.
Yeah, again, that is AUH2O Thrift and Vintage Store in the Lower East Side. And now, back to Christmas in New York.
stand clear of the closing doors, please.
All right, we're going to round this episode out with some of the fun holiday bars and restaurants to check out. New York City has an unprecedented amount of bars and restaurants generally, and there are also so many that do holiday decor well. We could do an entire episode about different holiday bars and restaurants, but we're going to just give some of our highlights. Some of these we've been to personally. Other ones have been vetted via the internet and online communities that know what they're talking about. But first one that we'll talk about on the list is Lily's Victorian Establishment. This is in the Midtown area near the Theater District, and it was, if you think of a holiday decked out bar, this is it times like 3. There's so many.
There are decorations at every square inch of that place.
Yeah, it's kind of unfathomable. I'll be honest, we went in and walked around and got some cool pictures, and we didn't actually stay because it was really crowded, and so we left, but it was still beautiful. Another one that we have enjoyed with the holiday theme and decor is Francis Tavern. So Francis Tavern is down in the financial district area. It is an extremely old building. George Washington gave a farewell address after the Revolutionary War to generals in this building. So if you want like history, there's actually a mini museum upstairs that has a lot of cool galleries and exhibitions just about this tavern. It was a hotspot for the early government of America. It was a place where I believe it was the Secretary of War worked from. I mean, it just so much history, but also on the ground level is a massive restaurant and bar area. They have, I think, 3 or 4 different bars within this one tavern. They have the main kind of eating and seating area, and absolutely beautiful decor. It feels like you're stepping back into like the 1800s with, during the holiday time, a nice twist of holiday decor.
I really like the food and drink options that they have at Francis Tavern. Every time I've been there, the food has been awesome. And they also have a lot of really unique cocktails as well as like unique and rare beers that you can buy as well.
Yeah, so check out Francis Tavern. Another one that has a lot of rich history and is a very, very old bar is Pete's Tavern. We've been there as well. And again, you walk in there and you're stepping back into history. These types of bars are just fun because you know that you are walking into a place with just such rich history, and you get to kind of feel like you are experiencing something different. Okay. A couple other options that came up on a lot of lists that we have not personally been to, but are on a lot of lists of like great holiday bars and restaurants. You've got Bell Book and Candle. You have Jack Dempsey's and Oscar Wilde. There are great options. Another one is the Dead Rabbit. The Dead Rabbit is actually right near Francis Tavern. It is, I believe, one of the oldest bars in New York City. We've been there before, and the cocktails are amazing, and they really put up the holiday decor as well.
The last one on our list is actually one that we don't recommend you guys go to. If you search Christmas restaurants, Christmas bars in New York City, Rolf's is going to be on every single list. I truly don't know why. We haven't personally been there, but we've walked by it before, have seen how crowded it is. I've seen the line down the street to get into this place. I know people that have gone in there and have had bad experiences. I've read bad reviews. Frankly, I feel like I just have to mention, it has 3.2 star reviews on Google. If you're in New York City and your restaurant or bar, any type of establishment has under 4 stars, there's a reason for that, and it's absolutely a skip. The food is overpriced. The service is bad. I was just barely looking through the reviews, and almost everyone mentioned, like, it's very cute in here. It's very festive, but the service was bad. I waited forever. I felt rushed. The food was overpriced and or bad.
I saw a screenshot of a receipt on a Google Maps review where someone got one cider, like an alcoholic drink cider. Those are usually, let's say, $11 to $13 in New York City. They paid $30 after drink tax tip for one basically beer. It's just not worth it, especially for how crowded and I'm sure just hectic that place is. And here's the thing, like Ashley was saying, most restaurants, if they're under 4 stars, especially if they're floating around like 3.5, you can be pretty sure that they are not going to be in business within 6 to 18 months. The only reason probably that Rolf's is in business is because they are just, for whatever reason, synonymous with holiday decor and decked out holiday bars. Just skip it. Go to one of these other options. Go to Lily's Victorian Establishment. Go to Francis Tavern. Go to Jack Dempsey's. Go to Oscar. Like, do not go to Rolf's. It's not worth it.
Honestly, I would add, walk by any bar or restaurant. See if it looks cute from the outside. See if there's lights, and go on in. Try a new spot. You might find your new favorite hidden gem that's decorated to the nines for Christmas that not everyone else knows about. And you will almost certainly have a better experience than going to one of the super touristy popular places.
Another one to mention, like along that note, is a place called Haswell Greens, which is in Midtown that we really liked. It's actually the supporters bar for the Cleveland Browns. Shout out the Browns. Said no one ever except for me. All these things that we've talked about when it comes to holidays, the Christmas experience in New York City, it is enjoyable. It is magical. There is this energy. There is this buzz. There are so many decorations and installations and pop-up shops, and it's fun, and it's an amazing holiday experience. Just know, make a reservation. Try to go during off hours if you can. Be willing to go to a place and realize it's too busy and leave and go somewhere else. Like, people always say life is too short to like deal with bad experiences and things you don't want to do. Your time in New York is probably too short to be wasting it like standing in line for 2 hours to go to some place like Rolf's. We hope this episode is helpful. We hope that you, even if you're not coming to New York for the holidays this year, you can come another year. You can experience it. It is magical. It is worth doing. If you have not already, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. One of the easiest ways to help us and help this podcast get more exposure is to just engage with us in the algorithms. That means following us, downloading the episodes, leaving reviews, leaving ratings, all that good stuff. It is so, so helpful. And other than that, we'll catch you on the next episode.
This is the last stop on this train. Everyone, please leave the train. Thank you for riding with us.